I've just sent a
I just
oh,
hit record, so we're rolling.
perfect, Sean. Thank you so much. Welcome everybody. Let's see. I just kind of want to have an open day to talk. Let others lead the way. I think we had a really productive conversation 2 weeks ago. Remy, really appreciate all your input and all the work that your team was doing. Um, I wanted to let people know from that. I got inspired, and GW is having a student-run hackathon, focusing on health on March 1st and 2nd. And I presented a problem statement to them based on the idea we talked about, or my understanding of the idea we talked about, which was taking, I can't remember exactly what it is, the cookie cutter JSON form creation tool that Remy's team had created and open sourced. Um, and so because we're going to have a lot of domain health experts at this hackathon, and we're going to have a bunch of technical students as well, um, getting the domain experts to apply their health knowledge to help us create a workflow so that a maintainer of an open source project can walk through and they're going to try to create a set of questions so that a maintainer can answer those questions and then sort of see, are they hitting primarily the SDG 3, health and well-being, but then also going a little bit deeper down into those targets. And then ideally, they'll create a tool that will implement this workflow and create a simple JSON or Markdown or whatever. I'll let the students kind of have some freedom there. Maybe they'll fork the tool and do it, or who knows how far they'll get in a hackathon, but they'll be doing some work to try to make it easier for project maintainers to identify the work that they might be doing to address the health and well-being SDG in open source projects. So I'm kind of excited about that. And I'll let everybody know how it's going, but that's one effort that's out there that's concrete that we're doing. And yeah, anybody who is local who wants to come and be involved, let me know and I will happily send you some information. Remy, do you have any information that you want to share about government situation? Are you here in your personal or how do you want to talk to this?
Yeah, no. We are continuing to work on our open source projects, and we're happy to participate in the working group.
Okay, fantastic. Are you wearing a hoodie for any particular reason?
It's winter.
It's a good look. It's a good look.
It's,
Yeah, it is supposed to be an ice storm tonight, so
yeah, we've got one right now here in Missouri, so I'm just wearing my little hat.
awesome. Awesome. I'm sorry, Remy. I'm not trying to put you on the spot. I guess I'm just I personally am reeling a little bit from the last 2 weeks, and so um I think trying to navigate. I have so many friends that are government workers, and they're telling me all sorts of different things, and uh,
Yeah,
so for the international community, there's a lot going on. A lot of memos have been going out to all.
I don't want to force everyone to move on if we're
All
still
right,
talking about
we're
it.
recording again, so rock and roll.
Go ahead,
Okay.
Jonathan.
Yeah, there's three events, David, based on what you were describing, you're doing at GW that I'm putting together that are very similar. And I didn't know these things happen often. The first one I put in the chat, that's unrelated to NumFocus, but that's happening in Denver at the end of the year. And then the other two are related to NumFocus, but this first one is the Institute of Open Science Practices. And we're facilitating 3 days of workshops where we're doing exactly what you were describing, they're not necessarily domain experts, but research experts or infrastructure experts. So librarians and data scientists and FAIR folks into a room with some expert technicians. We're building, let's call them technologists who are building novel infrastructure for research to workshop over the course of 3 days, facilitated by me and my friend who started a nonprofit to do this, but to build stuff, practical outputs, so code that can actually work. So that's really exciting. And then the other two they're not really events, but they're innovation hackathons, but we call them innovation sprints that I'm facilitating or organizing with NumFocus are in UN SDG sort of realms. One is in climate and sustainability, or we call it energy, climate, and environment. And the other is AI in science, so responsible AI, that sort of thing, how it's being used in the scientific process. We actually have one more right now that's been announced and two more in the background that I can't announce yet. But the one that was just announced is chemistry. And all of these things are 9-month events where we do virtual workshops for 9 of those months. And then at the end of it, do a physical workshop if possible, where we bring the 20 to 50 core contributors to whatever software we start building into the same room to button everything up. But the goal here is to build solutions to ecosystem-wide challenges. And we're letting the open source community and the open research community define those challenges. And for all of these groups so far, people have put on that board determining how to, to use a metaphor that came up earlier, foster orphaned projects in situations of extreme uncertainty that can arise for various reasons. So there might be some interest in aligning some of those groups with this group, this discussion group. And these sprints are, the ECE group had 50 people on the call working on a whiteboard together. The AI and science one had 30 people on a call working on a whiteboard together. One of the other ones that I can't necessarily announce yet has a very good group of 20, 30 people working together to produce stuff. So it's really neat. So I can't wait to see, David, what your GW event on whatever SDG number that was. Did you say it was 3?
Yeah, 3, health and well-being. I don't have them all
Yeah.
memorized. Don't get the impression I do.
Does anyone actually? I wonder if anyone at the UN even does.
We're gonna give Michael a test right after.
I have a cheat sheet right next to my desk.
It's a tattoo, right?
Yeah, yeah, it's
Nice. That's great. Jonathan, I was at your the environmental webinar, and it was really cool the way you were running it.
Yeah, it's a lot of fun. I think we can build some really productive stuff, some really useful and practical stuff, starting to connect all these groups together. And we'll probably switch them to meeting twice a month just because people are so excited and building together. So we need more time to actually do the work.
I thought you did a great job of facilitating, and it was fascinating how my brain worked in that kind of a space in a different way than it works like when I'm on my own. It was really interesting. So thank you for doing that. I'm very excited to see what will come of it. And
Appreciate it.
I don't know how to like align all these different efforts. I love the idea of them organically going off in their own direction, and then our working group kind of focusing on our mission of how do we help with the standardizing and aligning and making the processes so that people aren't just going off in different directions but are coming back and able to share the advances that they make or the work that they do. So yeah, I'm all ears on how we're doing that. And ideally we'd be able to present something perhaps at the open source Auspice for Good meeting to show how far we've gone.
I think that would be incredibly useful output from this group. Because we're just starting to fumble forward, like what do we want to build as an ecosystem? What challenge do we want to solve? If there was some standard or something, I dislike the word standard, but something to look back on this, like, hey, here is how you can work towards the SDGs or determine how to work towards the SDGs. We can maybe intersect all these initiatives.
Awesome. Well, let's keep doing that. Sean, I saw that you had some stuff to share as well.
Me?
Or Cassie, I'm sorry.
Yeah, I think, yeah, it must have been Kathy.
Cassie, go for it.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, so can we not record? like at least the first part. Yeah.
No.
I'll start it again.
Repause. No, repause,
Repause. Oh,
please.
repause. I started recording again. I was at FOSDEM. I don't see anyone else on the call who was there. So nothing directly related to SDGs, UN SDGs came about, though there was a good talk from a lot of really good talks. It was a very engaging CHAOSScon, really the first time that we had very strong afternoon participation because we had an academic OSPO meeting, software meeting with Augur and Grimoire Lab together, and unconference session. So there was a lot of opportunities for people to stay engaged in the afternoon, and so they did. There was so one of the talks was about feminism and open source, which I thought was quite exceptional, and then another talk about the launch of the CHAOSS education program, which was good. And Dan Katz from Corsa talked about government and research, open source funding. And then we also launched the funding impact working group, which Kylene Osborne and Paul from the Sovereign Tech Fund are kind of spearheading that. So those are kind of the highlights. Sorry, I wasn't totally prepared to give the highlights, but that's kind of what happened, and it was very good. CHAOSScon, a lot of new people that I haven't seen at CHAOSScon before, and I always find it interesting to hear how different folks discovered CHAOSS or found their way to it. And yeah, it was great. Loved it. I don't know what else to say. Sorry.
No, that was great. Thanks, Sean.
Sure.
Sean, do you know if any of the content got recorded this year? I know there had been talk of a live stream, but I don't think it materialized.
No, it did not. The planning committee didn't really focus on that this time. And in the past, I've actually been the one who brought the recording equipment, and since there was no discussion of it really in advance, I didn't bring it this time for personal reasons. I'm still recovering from foot surgery in November, so carrying lots of extra stuff is a little bit more difficult for me than it usually is. So
glad the turnout was good and the content was good.
yeah.
Anybody else on the call want to share? Now's your chance.
The Saturday and Sunday were good. It was my first FOSDEM. What a fun time.
Yeah, I'm sorry I
general-
missed your talk. I'd wanted to see it, but I couldn't stay. So
Yeah, no
Sorry.
problem. It was crazy. I could barely stay for it. The general vibe was good considering everything that's going on, though. Lots of good energy, lots of good talks.
Yeah, I mean, now FOSDEM, I will say, it was back to pre-pandemic attendance levels. The food lines were long, the space was overcrowded, getting into rooms was difficult. So it was far more. I mean, it's been decently attended since the pandemic, but this is the first year that it was back to that level of almost overcrowding that had been commonplace before 2020.
It blows my mind that if you just put people in a room and say, here's your challenge, fix it, and the challenge happens to be build an event, they create FOSDEM, which is one of the smoothest run conferences I've ever been to. Like, it's incredible. All volunteer too. I can't get over it. I'll stop.
Yeah, I mean, I think that the lack of a necessity to register enables people to just show up at FOSDEM in a way that most conferences simply don't enable. For what that's worth.
That's good to know as I am thinking about building the registration page for my GW OSCON in March.
Well, and I think so with FOSDEM, they have the advantage of basically taking over part of some university campus, and they do manage attendance basically by, if you don't get to the room you want to be in, you got to stand in a queue. So in that respect, it's more like Woodstock than it is like an ordinary conference. And I think for Chaos, like for Chaos Con, we have a registration with a minimal fee of like $10. And the sole purpose of that is so that we can estimate how many people will actually be there. Because we don't like to turn people away. So we use registration solely as a token amount of money so that, we don't overbook it, but we also don't underbook it. So I think for most contexts, that low event registration fee to be able to have solid numbers is a good way to go.
Does it still give you solid numbers? That the
Yeah.
$10, the skin in the game that makes the difference?
Mhm. Yeah,
'Cause
we have
the
we
free
don't we have
registration is like, you're lucky if you get 50%, I think,
no, I think we only had a
since
couple of
COVID anyway.
we only had a couple of no-shows off of our registration list. Elizabeth could speak specifically to how many, but our registrations and attendance numbers tend to match each other quite closely, both in FOSDEM and in the Open Source Summit North America editions of CHAOSScon.
Yeah, I think the secret to FOSDEM is not only no revenue, but no expenses as well, right? Like they don't, there's no swag, there's no name tags, like the overall expenses are pretty well amortized, and like the video infrastructure is kind of donated, but reused from year to year, and I think they even use it for other events as well. And then the university, for how I don't know how they scored this, but the university gives them the space for free, so all of those things they're really lucky to have.
I
Yeah, I
like
mean, obviously with the headquarters of the EU and NATO in Brussels, I think there's a general zeitgeist of inclusion and bringing people together in that city that doesn't exist in other cities that I've been in. Nothing against other cities. I just think, Brussels has this unique cultural spot on the globe that makes all that possible. I do want to draw attention to Angela's comment in text or in messaging, if you haven't seen it, about what her research office does for registration. Basically, it's free unless you don't attend, and then there's a charge. I kind of like that. I think that's likely to be as effective as what we do. So another possibility for registration management.
I initially liked that, and then I started to think about somebody that gets the flu or COVID. You don't want them to, to attend, but I'm
Well, I mean, I think $25 is like, if I lose $25 for not going, I don't think I'm going to lose any sleep over $25.
That's true.
I haven't actually seen them charge anyone. I don't know if they do or not, but if you said you were sick, I think they'd believe you.
Yeah.
If there's no enforcement, it's just one of those.
Well, they don't advertise that
Yeah.
there's no enforcement. I
Right.
just happen to know that because I work closely with them. But I know that they've charged a couple of people, like when they had big conferences that had lots of attendance that had like overflows of people. But if you could show that you were sick or you showed them like a positive COVID test, they're not going to charge you for that. But yeah.
I like that. I might implement that.
I think it's also more of the mindset, right? If you say that upfront, people will likely to sign up only when they're very sure.
Exactly.
Oh, very nice. While I have the mic, could I just say one thing? Yeah, just to say, inspired from our last conversation and the resource that Ruth pointed out, I created an issue to sort of like write up a what was it called? Not a guidance, but something like that for contributors. Because I have been mulling more on my epiphany from last time, as in how we know that a project contributes to SDG, like is sort of the two track. One is that either a organization that you would think contributes to SDG is using this, or like project by them is utilizing this project, or it is directly contributing to some sort of SDG. But in order to do that, there needs to be some kind of logic to it, and a lot of project that's hard to tell, right? So so I've been just like mulling on it and sort of how to organize the stuff and then just put it down into the Word. And then, yeah, because like based on that, like I think different project maintainers could go different way. Either how do they get a non-profit or whichever SDG organization to sort of uptake their project in whatever that they're doing, and what kind of support or what kind of things should come with it or would be good to help with that, because you're not going to be able to just drop a repo to like a organization that's working to whatever, like save trees. So yeah, so happy to work on that. It will be a good distraction for me, at least from everything that's happening in the world.
That's awesome. Are you getting help from CHAOSS, like Elizabeth or others?
I would love to solicit that if that's possible. Yeah,
Sean, do you know
yeah.
who, if is she just doing the right process by opening an issue, or should she
I
reach out
think
to anybody?
I think opening an issue is a good place to start. I think also reaching out to folks. Elizabeth
Mm-hmm.
is a good person to start with. She kind of runs air traffic control for
Mm-hmm.
CHAOSS on many things. So I think Elizabeth, actually more than me right now, has a good idea of who to tap into for
Mm-hmm.
that kind of collaboration.
Okay, then I'll ping her on Slack
Yeah,
and then just like update the issue as it like
yeah,
progresses. Yeah. Just
yeah.
confirm with her that like it is something that the community would need, and then I will be referencing, what is it, the practitioner guide
Practitioner
for,
guides. Yeah.
yeah, exactly. But like, yeah, practitioner guide for something like contributors to SDG.
Hmm.
Do
Yeah,
you
like if you
mind?
want your project to be good, like how do you do
Yeah,
it? Yeah.
yeah, yeah.
Exactly. Do you mind
Mm-hmm.
putting a link to that issue in our doc?
Yes.
I'd love
Yeah,
to look at
I
what you're
would
doing.
love to do that. Yeah.
Awesome, thanks.
Mm-hmm.
Cassie, can I also say, and for anyone who works at the WHO, USAID, or the UN, just because all this political crap is happening does not mean that your work is not valued by so many people and valuable, and that you are not valuable. I can't tell you how much I appreciate you just sticking in there, and um uh I can't speak for my institution, but as a human being, I support you 100%, and I'm grateful for everything you wake up and do every day.
Oh, thank you. That's really kind of you. Yeah, so there's many supporters, but it's just kind of scary time for everyone. I'm pretty sure that I cannot, like no one's able to travel. So I was like, yeah, I'm definitely not traveling to New York City unless like things happen. So but that's also not the end of the world. There has been much bigger problems than like people not being able to travel to attend conferences, right? So
Comment to Angela's statement.
mm,
Yeah, reach
yeah, but
definitely
thank
our
you. That's
thoughts are for all the the government workers and the people impacted by this change and uncertainty. Yeah, we're still gonna fight the good fight. I wish it wasn't so crazy. All right. Well, thank you, everybody. It was really nice seeing your faces and hearing your voices, and keep doing the great work. And we'll check in again in 2 weeks. Take care.
All right. Thanks. Take care. Bye.
Oh, oops. Okay, bye everyone.